In this video, I'll explain the real-life chess references found in The Queen's Gambit, Episode 3, titled Doubled Pawns. Do you want to know which reference is not historically accurate? Watch the video and find out. Greetings, friend. Timberlake here from Smart Hobbies, the channel that helps you transform a passing interest into a fun and enjoyable hobby. Today we are focusing on chess, in particular the Netflix show The Queen's Gambit. Before I begin the countdown, do me a favor, subscribe to my channel and click the bell for notifications so you won't miss any new content. Now, let me help you bridge the gaps between the real and the imaginary chess world in explaining the 7 super cool chess terms from The Queen's Gambit, Episode 3. Number 7. Carokhan Defense. Episode 3 begins in 1963, where Beth is attending a chess tournament in Cincinnati. After settling into her room, Beth decides to wander the hotel when she meets Benny Watts for the first time. He's explaining the merits and inadequacies of the Carokhan Defense to other chess players, telling the small crowd that the opening is all pawns and no hope. The Carokhan is a chess opening for black against pawn to king 4, characterized by the moves pawn to king 4 and then pawn to queen bishop 3. The opening was named in honor of 2 strong players from Germany, Horatio Caro and Marcus Kahn, who contributed many ideas to the development of this opening at the end of the 19th century. The opening was made popular on a large scale by Jose Capablanca in the early 20th century and has been played in several World Chess Championship matches throughout history. By saying the Carokhan has no hope, Benny is probably referring to the Carokhan's reputation of often being a safe move for black to get a draw and doesn't give too many winning chances. Benny seems to prefer the more aggressive Sicilian defense. Not only does this scene show Beth's initial meeting with Benny, but it also shows a contrast in his playing style and that of Beth's last opponent, Harry Beltic, who played the Carokhan in the Kentucky State Championship match. Number 6. Misesevsky. While still discussing the Carokhan, Benny steers the conversation towards a famous game featuring the Carokhan, Misesevsky, Margate, 1935. The chess club at Margate, which is a seaside resort in England, held the first of 5 consecutive international tournaments in the spring of 1935. Misesevsky refers to a game played by a 7-year-old Jacques Mises against 23-year-old Samuel Reshevsky. Benny uses this game as an example of how to play the Carokhan as black. Reshevsky won this game and the tournament on his way to becoming one of the best players in the world. Benny implied that black must be an exceptional player to win the Carokhan. In contrast, this also shows how some players just don't learn their lesson, for this was the same Jacques Mises who lost to Marcus Kahn 50 years previously when Carokhan was first introduced. Number 5. Ruy Lopez. Beth meets Towns again in Las Vegas in 1966 during the US Open. He invites her up to his room to take photos for an article in the local Kentucky paper. At one point, he asks her to smile and say, "Ruy Lopez." Ruy Lopez was a 16th century Catholic priest who at one time was arguably the best player in the world, and he wrote one of the first books about modern chess in Europe. The Spanish opening in chess is more commonly referred to as the Ruy Lopez, and is probably the most popular chess opening of all time. Towns obviously said the name to Beth as a cheesy way to get her to relax and smile more. Number 4. Paul Morphy. Paul Morphy is first mentioned in Episode 3, but his name and parts of his life story are brought up again several times in the series. Paul Morphy was the greatest American chess player of the 19th century and considered the unofficial world chess champion in the 1850s. Some grandmasters consider him the best player ever relative to his peers. Morphy played tactical combinations well ahead of his time and virtually destroyed all of his opponents, whether he was hungover from a night on the town, giving peace odds, or even blindfolded. Unfortunately, his chess career was short-lived as he retired from active competition at the age of 22 to begin a law career. Number 3. The Marshal. After the first day of competition in Las Vegas, Beth is telling Mrs. Wheatley about her matches over dinner. She said her second match was against this guy from San Francisco. I played the Marshal. The Marshal refers to the Marshal attack, a variation of the Ruy Lopez where black sacrifices a pawn in order to start an attack on the white king. There's a problem of historic proportions with this scene. Beth says that she played the Marshal and then implies to Alma that had something to do with sacrificing a queen the way Paul Morphy did. The problem is that Paul Morphy could never have done this because he stopped playing chess in 1859, which is almost 60 years before Frank Marshall introduced his namesake attack against Jose Capablanca. However, the book by Walter Tevis got it right. In it, Beth said she played the King's Gambit and then sacrificed a bishop the way Morphy did. And this does refer to a real and brilliant game played by Paul Morphy in 1856. Number 2. QGD versus Sloth. At one point in Las Vegas, Beth sees Benny Watts at the hotel bar having a conversation with another man. Benny mentions the differences of QGD versus Sloth, but stops the conversation short when Beth approaches. The QGD refers to the Queen's Gambit decline, which Beth learned as a child from Mr. Scheibel. Black follows up White's first two moves of Pawn to Queen 4 and Pawn to Queen Bishop 4 with Pawn to Queen 4 and Pawn to King 3. The Sloth refers to a very similar opening, but instead of moving Pawn to King 3, Black moves Pawn to Queen Bishop 3. The opening got its name from the many players from Slavic countries who contributed ideas to the development of this opening in the 1920s. Like the QGD, the Slav is still played today at the highest levels of chess. Beth may have gotten a little annoyed that Benny didn't ask her opinion on the matter, and he further annoyed her by pointing out a flaw in her game against Beltic. And number 1, doubled pawns. Doubled pawns refers to the tactic that Beth tried in her US Open game against Benny. In chess, doubled pawns is when a player ends up with 2 pawns in the same file. I first learned about the concept of doubled pawns from the book Pawn Power, which was featured in my previous video. Doubled pawns are usually considered a structural weakness because the pawns can no longer protect each other and it hinders the movement of the backward pawn. However, Benny saw through Beth's idea and used it to his advantage to win the game, a defeat that she did not take lightly. So, that's my list. I hope you learned something new and cool about chess in this video. Were there any references that I missed that should have made it on this list? Add those to the comments below. And while you're at it, like and subscribe to Smart Hobbies, and share this link with someone else you think would enjoy it. I also recommend you check out these videos from my channel about other hobbies that may interest you. Thank you so much for watching.